Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Fraser Valley Weekend. I'm Kelli Patton.
And I'm Nick Patton.
This week we welcome Mary Watson from the Chilliwack Museum.
And Natalie Bedard with a brand new episode of Total Wellness, sponsored by Rivercrest Contracting.
All this and the news sponsored by Black Press Media and our picks for events this weekend from around the valley, right now. Welcome back and welcome to the show, Nick. Very glad to have you here. For people who haven't met you yet, can you tell viewers a little bit about yourself?
So I am currently a third-year history student at the University of Victoria. My area of focus is really 20th century Canadian military history and the storytelling and the national identity that comes out of the wars that we participated in. Those we were on the right side of and those we were maybe on the other side of. So I find it terribly interesting, just the way that our culture is shaped around these conflicts.
And how do other people find it?
They love it. They love it.
All your fun facts, I'm sure. So it has been a week. So you're in town because of Reading Week, right? Tell me a bit about that.
Well, I'm loving the break from classes, that's for sure. I am getting the opportunity to sleep in, to see old friends back home and family, so it's going pretty well.
All right, well, we will dive into some of the history and storytelling that you have for us today when we do your interview in just a little bit. For me this week, I'm still coming down from the Chili's Award night. It was fantastic. So we had Uber Achiever Clint Hames, we had Musician of the Year, the Maybells, we had the Taste of the Chili's. It was Shantar Hut, which I know you're a big fan of as well. And that was an incredible night all around. And then we had Remembrance Day this week as well. 3 ceremonies here in Chilliwack, other ceremonies all across the valley with the legions, and huge thanks to everyone who helped organize critically important events. And I think the valley came out in force to really make sure that we supported our veterans, showed our support for sacrifice, and it was a good week. Oh, and my kid's home from Reading Week. But all right, let's jump into the news in the valley. Starting in Abbotsford, there will be shiny and sparkly items as far as the eye can see this weekend at the Matsqui Community Hall, as the Abbotsford Rock and Gem Club prepares to host its annual Rock and Gem show. This event brings together large crowds of mineralogy enthusiasts. Yeah, mineralogists? I'm not sure. Anyway, it's about shopping. They can shop among the selection of crystals and gemstones and jewelry and other unique handmade items.
Also in Abbotsford, the UFV Student Union Society's Angel Tree program is returning for 2025. Mm-hmm. The UFV SUS's Angel Tree program returns this month, and it's really awesome. The university has touched the lives of hundreds of children since the inception of this program more than 8 years ago. The tradition continues into this year, and the program's aim is to help support UFV students and their families as other local families during the winter holidays.
Yeah, really important event, and really has a huge impact across communities, not only the school community, but the communities that the school is part of. Yeah, fantastic. Great work. In Agassiz, the holiday season is practically upon Agassiz Harrison. So Lights by the Lake opening ceremonies is set for Saturday, November 22nd, and it is set to draw in thousands of people to the shores of Harrison Lake for the official kickoff of the local holidays. A welcome ceremony is set for 5 p.m., featuring the Sasquatch dancers from St'elis First Nation. And if you have not seen the Sasquatch dancers, my favorite one is the Sasquatch dance. But that's just the beginning of the holiday season. And Harrison and Agassiz do it up right. There'll be a holiday train coming out, too, with the Bare Naked Ladies in Agassiz. Yeah, they're doing a great job. All right, in Chilliwack, what's happening in Chilliwack?
Here in our home of Chilliwack, we have slightly less cheery news. A vehicle was reported to be fully submerged with its wheels showing in a ditch along Chadsey Road on November 10th. The RCMP confirmed that 2 men were found dead as the result of the rollover crash, and the accident scene was discovered on Monday, November 10th. The police confirmed that the 2 men are from the Okanagan and their families have been notified, but no more details are being released to the public.
So sad, so sad. All right, in other news in Chilliwack, a group of First Nations communities in the Chilliwack area are buying Elements Casino. So they're communities from the Chilliwack tribe. They're entering into a definitive agreement, or they entered into a definitive agreement on November 7th for the purchase of from Great Canadian Entertainment of Elements Casino in Chilliwack, which we've all probably driven past here in Chilliwack. This is according to a November 10th press release by Great Canadian Entertainment.
Out in Langley, in an exclusive multi-part series, the Langley Advanced Times is looking at how and when the SkyTrain comes to Langley and how that impacts on residents, commuters, and businesses. The Surrey-Langley SkyTrain line comes straight down the Fraser Highway for almost its entire length, and then it gets to Langley. And so the $6 billion project has been in the works since 2018, and the decision to go with a full elevated SkyTrain rail rather than an at-grade light rail. You know, public transit is so important for students and young people who might not have their own cars. So I'm really glad that this is moving forward and we're learning more about it.
Yeah, excited about the multi-part series as well, so that people in Langley, but outside of Langley too, maybe in other areas that would be interested in advocating for SkyTrain or other service, can know what's happening with that project. So that'll be one to watch for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, in Hope, a woman has been rescued after severely injuring herself while climbing in Hope. So Hope Volunteer Search and Rescue were on scene late last Sunday afternoon, November 9th, after the climber injured herself at the Area 71 Cragnear town. So despite a difficult recovery due to how steep and rugged the terrain was in the area, Hope Search and Rescue said the climber was stoic despite severe injuries. So again, we always like to thank our first responders. Huge thank you to the Volunteer Search and Rescue. Making all the difference. Glad that ended well. Yeah, and wish her all the luck on her recovery.
Absolutely.
So that's it for the news. After the break, my interview with Mary from the Chilliwack Museum. Welcome back and welcome Mary. So we have with us right now, very lucky, Mary Watson of the Chilliwack Museum. So excited you're here on the show. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, can you tell us what brought you to Chilliwack, what brought you to the museum?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me. I came out to the museum, I started in January of this year. I'm from Ontario. I went to school for museum studies and archival studies, so working in the heritage sector has always been something I've wanted to do. And the Chilliwack Museum had the opportunity to be curator, and I thought, why not make the move across the country?
That's a big move.
It is a big move. But yeah, it's been absolutely great, and I think the big reason why I wanted to work at the Chilliwack Museum was the values of the institution, which was implementing decolonized frameworks and working with the community are big values.
Yeah, really community focused and really focused on like co-creating reconciliation, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it is wonderful. Welcome to Chilliwack.
Thank you.
You're almost a year in. What do you think so far?
Oh, it's great. The community is great. Everyone I've met is really nice, and you can't really beat the geography around here compared to Ontario flatlands. So,
well, the Fraser Valley is a special place, so glad you're here. So I know that you are here to talk about a really, really exciting, I don't know what to call it, an exhibit or event. The exhibit is an event, I guess. So what are you here to share with us?
Yeah, so we currently have just opened a new long-term local history exhibit called Collecting Memory. It is going to be on until the fall 2028, so lots of opportunity to come and see it. And it is looking at the concept of collective memory and what that means to community, both past and present. So collective memory as a concept is the, stories, the rituals, traditions, memories that people have chosen and selected to pass on to future generations. So what does that mean in a museum context of what are the chosen stories and memories that we've shared, and what are the memories and stories that haven't been shared? And so going forward, how can we build a more inclusive representation of Chilliwack's history?
I love that because there's so much conversation about how how it's decided which history
Yeah.
we protect or which history we showcase. So this is all sounding very time capsule to me. Is that?
Yes, it is definitely giving a time capsule element, and there is a timeline component. It's not a traditional timeline that people might be expecting, but yes, it's inviting people to share the memory that they think is important to Chilliwack's history in the exhibit.
All right, so community can contribute. It's
Yeah.
like co-created there as well, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
so there's opportunity within the exhibit itself for visitors and community members to come in and contribute their own thoughts, opinions, memories to the exhibit, so that it can all live there together.
Wow. Okay. So that sounds really incredible. And I know already there have been groups that have contributed to what is going to be seen in the exhibit already, right?
Yeah, so community engagement was a huge component of the curatorial process for this exhibit. We worked with the Chilliwack Heritage Society, Chilliwack Pride Society, the Cocolito Cultural Education Center, Immigrant Services at Chilliwack Community Services, as well as Satwinder Baines from South Asian Studies Institute, Tamalini from the South Asian Canadian Digital Archives, as well as a community committee of 6 individuals. So it's packed with community voices.
All right. It's packed with community voices and it's opening so that there can be more community voices included. This sounds fantastic. So how can people see it or participate or get involved?
Yeah, so the Chilliwack Museum is open from Mondays to Saturdays, 9 to 4:30, and that exhibit will be open to the public, like I said, until fall 2028. So lots of opportunity to come by. And if you have any questions or anything like that, you're free to ask our museum staff. They're all well equipped, or reach out to me personally through my work. Email is totally invited.
All right. Well, I'm very excited to see it. It sounds like the curating process was like a whole adventure in itself.
Yeah.
And continues as the exhibit is up. I'll definitely be checking it out.
Yeah.
Anyone who hasn't gone to the Chilliwack Museum or doesn't really know what it's about, this is your time. Like, it couldn't be a better time because you can be part of what is being built for Chilliwack, for the Fraser Valley. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for capturing so many voices and making sure that our history here in the Valley and in Chilliwack is an inclusive one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. After the break, we will get into details with Nick.
We Sunday driving and the sun's bright shining. We load up the doggies, gas up our rifle. We're gonna hit that 4-lane and then we are flying. We come alive when we Sunday driving.
Welcome back. And Nick, we're going to dive into an interview with you. So you mentioned that you're a history major. You mentioned that your focus is on like Canadian identity around World War I and formation. And when we were talking on the break, you mentioned about storytelling. So I know that you've collected many fun facts and stories. Do you have anything in your bag of tricks that ties into World War I with Chilliwack?
Yeah, so, I mean, it was Remembrance Day just this week, and that always has me thinking kind of about history and the people, the individuals who make up wars, right? Because it's not fought by countries, it's fought by people. And when I think to Chilliwack, I think the one many people would think of, even if they don't know his name, is Piper James Clellan Richardson. So his is the statue that's outside the Old Town Hall, now the Chilliwack Museum. And I remember driving past that statue a lot as a kid, but never necessarily knowing what it was about, right? Who he was or what he did. So, I thought it important to just take a few minutes to talk about that and talk about who he was. So, James Clellan Richardson was born in Scotland and lived there for the first 15, 16 years of his life until he moved over to Chilliwack. I believe he was serving an apprenticeship in Vancouver at the time. But when the war came around, the Great War, and men from all over Canada were going to fight, he was one of the men from Chilliwack who volunteered and who signed up to go to war. So he was a member of the 16th Scottish Battalion. And there's not a lot of reports about necessarily what his time was like when he was in the army. We have some, but the main thing comes when we get to the Battle of the Somme, which was a really significant battle for Canada during the war, and has a reputation for just being brutal, right? Just a lot of deaths. The saying is that towns were wiped out in minutes during the Battle of the Somme. So James Clellan Richardson, he was a piper. He had his bagpipes, and it was his job to kind of inspire his brothers in arms, right?
It's a big job.
Yeah, especially when you're fighting in the deadliest war in human history.
It draws a lot of attention, too.
Absolutely. So, piper, very risky job, very hard job. You were carrying around this big instrument, so it wasn't easy to go for your gun if you're in imminent danger. But there was one time when the men he was with, the group he was with at the time, was really pinned down by the German soldiers at the Somme. And, their advance, the goal they were trying to achieve there was really crucial to the effort at the battle at the time. So, Piper Richardson, he stood up, he took his bagpipes, and he went out of kind of the hole they were in and faced down enemy fire, and played his bagpipes and just started walking to where they need to go. And the men followed him. They were shooting back at the Germans. They were protecting him as he played his bagpipes and kind of led the charge. And they succeeded in their endeavor. They defeated their enemy at the time, and they managed to capture the really integral position that they had to capture on that day. So when they went back to their barracks after staying at the front for a little bit, Piper Richardson remembered that he had forgot his pipes. Oh. He had left his bagpipes kind of at the point they had captured, and he had to go back and get them.
Okay.
So World War I, being a very deadly war where stray bullets and random shells fell very frequently, he never returned.
So he went to get his bagpipes and then never came back?
Yes. So he was presumed dead, presumed lost. And they found his body in 1920, a few years later, when they were cleaning up all of these battlefields. But yeah, I really think to this moment, this just inspiring man, a little bit older than me at the time, like a matter of months or so, who was ready to put his life at risk and really lead his brothers in arms to victory.
So what happened to the bagpipes?
So the bagpipes are actually a very interesting story because just like he was, they were assumed lost pretty much forever. Very few people cared to really recover the bagpipes. They weren't as useful as weaponry were at the time, and certainly not as sentimental as bodies. So the bagpipes just kind of stayed there for decades upon decades until in 2002, somebody was walking around the Somme and they found these bagpipes. And they post about it online in the kind of new internet. And and some Scottish historians recognized it, and they said that is the insignia of the Canadian Scottish Battalion. That's the pattern, the tartan that they had on their bagpipes. So after months and years of historians kind of discussing where this came from, eventually they discovered that they were Richardson's bagpipes.
This guy from Chilliwack.
Yes, this man who had lived in Chilliwack all that time ago. So they were repatriated. They were brought back to BC, first to Chilliwack, and now they currently sit in the BC legislature. And I have had the privilege of seeing them in my time out in Victoria. And it's really an amazing thing to go see. Just a man my age, a little bit older, who, lived 100 years before me and had just this experience that I can't even conceive of as much as I read and write about it.
Yeah.
And so he earned the Victoria Cross for his actions at the Somme, which was, at the time, and perhaps still is, one of the highest honors that the British Empire can bestow upon a soldier. Makes him really distinguished, and those crosses, along with the other medals that he earned that day, are in the Canadian Military Museum in Ottawa, which I have not had the chance to go see, but hope to someday.
All right. Well, this has been your Chilliwack history moment by Nick. Thanks so much for sharing that story. So that was, there's a lot of storytelling and lore around World War One, and I appreciate you sharing what you understand from that story. Thanks so much for being with the program or on the program today. And as you finish third year and do fourth year, come back if you hear more Chilliwack stories. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and giving me an opportunity to talk about my study.
Yeah. Okay. Obvious that you're really passionate about it. After the break, Natalie Bedard with a new episode of Total Wellness sponsored by Rivercrest Contracting.
Hi again, it's Natalie Bedard, fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach. And I wonder, have you noticed how we have normalized overstimulation? Reels when we eat, YouTube while we're waiting at the doctor's office or waiting in line, constant stimulation from our phones, TVs, computers, so that we really never have time for just stillness, being mindful. If you are as old as I am, when I was younger, when we waited for the bus, we literally just stared at a blade of grass. You had to be mindful. And now we have all of this wonderful technology, which can be used for so much good, but there's an over-reliance on it. And what happens is that our nervous system gets stuck. So we never have time to reset if we never take those moments of silence, of quiet, of just existing and being mindful. And so when we're in that state, it can really interfere with our desire, our motivation to do the things that we say we want to do. It's time to work out and you're like, I feel burned out. It's time to meal prep and you're like, I just don't have the jam. A lot of it can come down to this constant stimulation. So what do you do about it? First thing you can do, take out your phone. Open your settings and look at your screen time. You might be shocked. I've seen mine as high as 8 hours a day. I don't even know how that is possible. So once I became aware of that, I made the choice to take moments of no technology. So when I'm waiting in line, one, for instance, was when I was waiting at the doctor's office and I purposely put my phone away and it felt weird. So that was a signal to me that I needed to do that more often. So now, my screen time has been going down. This week I checked, I'm 27% down from the week prior. So that's a win. And it made me start to feel more calm and more motivated as a result. So once you've checked your screen time, you don't have to do the all or nothing and tell yourself you're going to turn off your phone for 24 hours unless you want to. But what you could do is start with just a tech-free meal. Choose one meal where you put your phone away. You've probably seen it like me when you're out on a dinner date, out with friends, that everybody is on their phones, even when we should be socially interacting with one another. So take a time at home with socializing whenever, but have a tech-free meal. Start there and you can build up. Once you start doing this, taking these times, whether it be when you're waiting in line, you go to grab your phone, you notice that, and you purposely put it away and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that right now. Or you have that tech-free meal. Then do a check-in with yourself and just notice how you feel. Do a mind-body scan and ask yourself, do I feel more relaxed? Notice what comes up for you, but you probably will find that you are more motivated as your nervous system resets, calibrates, and comes more into homeostasis. So try that. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's just to notice, become more mindful versus our mind being full from external things like our phones and TVs. And I promise you, you'll start to feel better.
Welcome back. Well, Nick, you have something you can tell your professors you did on reading break. Thanks so much for being my co-host this week. Maybe the best ever. And I'm not just saying that because you're my son. So what does your schedule look like heading back, getting ready for exams?
Yeah, well, I'm sure my fellow university students who are watching this know that there's a lot of homework coming up leading up to exams, essays, studying, readings, the whole ordeal. So nothing too terribly fun. No more interviews, but...
No more interviews. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll be this weekend driving someone back to Victoria before coming home and, missing the people that I dropped off at university. So with that, let's jump into what other people can get to doing this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Fun events around the valley. So I'll start off in Abbotsford with a toonie skate at the Abbotsford Recreation Centre tomorrow night. So it's only $2, hence the toonie. And the skate and helmet rentals are free. So that is just awesome. It goes from 1:30 till 3 p.m. and only 200 are allowed on the ice at a time, so make sure to get there early.
Once again, here in Chilliwack, we have the 50th annual Christmas Craft Fair, held by the Chilliwack Arts Council and held at the Big Red Barn at Heritage Park. It opens today, Friday, at 2 p.m. until 8 tonight, and then again Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6, and 10 to 4 on Sunday. There will be over 240 artists from all over BC, so you'll be able to get your Christmas shopping done early with a very unique handcrafted trinkets, fine foods, just really awesome stuff. This is a must, and it's the largest fundraiser of the year for the Arts Council and helps fund 3 scholarships, so you're really helping out creatives, which is near and dear to my heart. And I guess because it really is the Christmas season, we have the first annual Festival of Trees coming up tomorrow at the Coast Hotel. So it's also the tree lighting for District 1881, so it's very festive, and you can make a whole day out of it.
Very festive. All right, maybe I'll have to come back in time to check out the artisan market and get you something interesting. Okay, in Hope, it's the Hope Fog Fest, starting today and running until November 30th. For 3 cozy weekends, there are lodgings and food specials and activities, boutique shopping and entertainment, including burlesque. So check out the Tourism Hope website for all of the complete details.
In Langley, it's Louis Riel Day, and you can celebrate at the Fort Langley National Historic Site of Canada on Mavis Avenue from 10 a.m. to 4:30. You'll meet Métis artist Pat Callahoo, Lisa Shepard, and Carrie Gabriel, and enjoy Indigenous-inspired dishes at Ancestor Cafe. There'll be arts and crafts to explore, and no doubt stuff to buy, Christmas presents, so really sounds awesome.
Okay, so I think it's time that some people get to work. It's time to start the weekend. It's time to get in on the fun. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you for spending your reading week time with us. And as always, wishing you a fabulous Fraser Valley weekend.